Well, Michael, I made it in spite of your directions.
Ah, Gage, welcome. I hope you're ready for an unforgettable podcast. Oh, ye God, my mic is ruined. But what if I were to record the show anyway? Hoo hoo hoo, delightfully devilish, Bemis. So that was a opening that I actually took time to rehearse with Gage. I hope that you appreciate the effort. I do need to get a new microphone to record this kind of stuff. I use Blue Yeti, and honest to God, I don't hate the microphone. I know that there are some criticisms against it, but I think if you know how to edit audio decently, you can pull it off. I don't. And I think I need a better microphone for doing this stuff. We're going to talk about Isle of Dogs today, because I saw that. Probably going to put that girl with the crazy hair in the thumbnail, because we haven't had a single female in the thumbnails yet. And I'm just like, I should do that.
Why isn't Afro crazy to you?
And me and Gage were having a conversation before this. The Afro isn't crazy to me. It just looked weird on her.
Is it the fact that she's Caucasian?
Probably.
The blonde Afro? I mean, granted...
The Afro was very... Like, the color of the Afro was very similar to the color of her hair. I'm not bothered by it. I'm saying it's like it's an interesting look.
You're not going to talk about the fact that her kimono was in, like, American flags?
I don't know, man. I'm just talking about... I think that her hairstyle is something very distinct for the character's design. I think that I haven't seen a lot of characters with that specific combination of features, where they were white, the hair color was very similar to her skin tone, and it was a afro.
So, pale blondie with blonde hair.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
And her hair was frizzy enough to form an afro.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound that unique.
Okay, name another character that has that.
I mean, I don't name characters.
Okay, so I don't fucking say shit.
But there are plenty of people.
Have you seen someone who looks like that?
No, because no one grows afros anymore.
I've seen people who grow afros.
Who?
Not afros like that, per se. But I've seen it. I don't know why we're talking about that, but anyway. What did you think of this movie, Gage?
It was good.
I liked it a lot. I have to say, I'm a little disappointed by it, but that's just because my expectations were like through the fucking roof with it. And I really only have one issue with it. I told you a little bit about that, like while we're actually at the movie theater still. And I'll get into that. For the most part, I really loved it. I've seen 4 of Wes Andersons movies. I do want to catch up on a lot of them. I think my favorite one is Grand Budapest Hotel, which is an awesome movie. It's almost perfect. Fantastic Mr. Fox would get second place. I'd rank Isle of Dogs as third right now. And animation-wise, Isle of Dogs improved, like, drastically from Fantastic Mr. Fox. Like, the presentation of this film was flawless. I don't have a single problem with how it was presented. The animation was great. The music was great. It was just the designs and these sets that they made, that some of which were only shown on screen for like 5 seconds. It's a lot of really impressive stuff, and I was very into it the entire time, just because there isn't a second of the film that you're watching it and it's not visually pleasing. So there's a lot with the actual filmmaking that's excellent, but where my problem more comes in is the characters, and only... like, not counting, like, the main characters, though. I think every single side character in this movie is the exact same character. And I know I'm not the first person with that opinion, because I've watched videos of people expressing that opinion, and I was going into this really trying to agree with that, wanting to disagree with it. But I mean, yeah, like, the 5 main dogs, and granted, they introduce other characters that are clearly more important. They are kind of just main characters for the first act of the movie, and then they're kind of brought down to smaller parts. But I mean, none of them had distinct personalities except for Chief. Chief was the only one with even what was her name? Nutmeg. She's in one scene. Aside from the fact that she's a female and can do tricks, there is 0 differences between her and the other 4 dogs. There's the athletic one. There's the Edward Norton dog. One of them was in commercials.
Did you know that dogs only have 5 unique sounds? There's only like 5 different noises dogs can make.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning like, out of 1 every 5 dog, there will be a dog that will sound the same. Completely the same. Same bark, same everything. Well, cats have more. But anyway, fuck cats. Cats suck.
This movie really did seem to have that mentality, too.
The cat fetish, yeah.
The cat fetish?
Yeah, everyone had a fucking cat.
Oh, okay.
The cat cult.
I was taking that literally for a second, and I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
I mean, I know it's Japan, Michael.
There was very few cats in the movie to begin with, and whenever they were shown on screen, they were shown in a very negative light.
It's like an evil person's lap.
You don't hate cats. You have 2 cats.
3.
Technically, yeah, 3. I mean,
and Burton might die soon, though.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's all right. He's old.
My brother has 2 cats, and I kind of have developed a soft spot for them, but like, they're not like, I don't consider cats to be very lovable. And I mean, I'm more than that wrong. They're not very lovable themselves. Like, it's easy to love a cat, I think. But the cats, I don't think, give 2 shits about your existence.
The thing about cats is they're independent animals.
Yeah.
Who know that you're the one who feeds them, and they'll only bond to like 1 or 2 people at most.
Yeah.
And that the rest of the people who they meet can fuck off.
I have no problem against cats. I like cats, but that's very true.
They can be dicks too.
Yeah. But
my cat Leo likes to kick stuff off the cabinet.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I've heard you say that, and I've like I said, brother.
And then
as a cat, and she's like that. 2 cats now.
Funny thing is, it's Lilo knocks him down. Like, Lilo knocks all this stuff off the cabinets and the tables and all that shit. And then Milo comes up and eats him.
Yeah. But cats, not painted a very, like, not a lot of time is dedicated to painting them in a negative light, but there's not a single time where being a cat person is seen as a good thing in this movie. So it's not a cat people person's movie. It's a dog person's movie. Yeah. I do think that, I understand the point. That
cult seemed to love them.
Yeah. I do understand that what you were saying there, like with dogs, all like not having that many different voices, like different noises they can make.
Yeah.
And because you were even saying at the movie theater when you were arguing against me, which do you want to, what your counter to my thing is? Do you want to explain that?
Well, dogs aren't really unique. Cats are unique. The thing about a cat is it's an individual and it will stay in its individual personality. Dogs are pack animals.
Yeah.
They will basically do whatever it takes to conform, usually, because they're either in the pack or an outcast, and outcasts don't live that long. And even strays form packs amongst themselves.
And I could let that go completely. I could accept that as an answer, for sure. I just kind of felt like it wasn't just the dogs. I kind of felt like a lot of characters felt like they didn't really have much to them. I would say, and the thing is, like,
how many characters in that movie that were human even had a paragraph of dialogue?
A lot of them had dialogue. They just weren't speaking English.
Well, it's like, I know, but how many characters actually spoke? There was the uncle, is the uncle the old ghoulish guy or the mayor?
Like, even the uncle, the uncle was the mayor.
Who's
the ghoulish guy was just some creepy guy who I loved the design for, but he didn't really, he kind of had a personality, but he just wasn't on screen that much, and his motivations are hard to really understand because he's not speaking English throughout the entire film, and he's never translated.
It was him, the uncle, the translator, the American girl.
The American girl was very similar to like the kid though, Atari. Like, they accepted the fact that she could speak English. She was like very casual most of the time, but would occasionally yell. That was her personality.
And then I'm like just counting all the characters who actually spoke a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there was other characters that spoke. You had the doctors.
Yeah, but it was like,
I feel like
this works. This is good.
I feel like I got 2 unique characters out of this movie, which was Chief and Atari. Those were it. Spot a little bit, but Spot was very similar to Chief in many regards.
Because they're brothers.
Yeah, they're brothers, and I get that. I'm not complaining about that. I think that a lot of I feel like, and I even like the dialogue. One of the complaints I heard frequently was that the dialogue was written poorly. I don't think it was. I just don't think it mattered which character was given to half the time. It could have been switched around. It would have made zero difference. And if some people aren't bothered by that even remotely, I can understand why. I do think to some extent you're right. If it was just those 4 dogs, especially, I'd be completely fine with it. Because, yeah, they are a pack, you know? And they do kind of communicate the same way. And Chief is kind of shown as the one who's different because he doesn't, like, take orders from humans. So, like, I can get that completely. I just feel like there were only 2 characters in the movie that really did feel like individuals to me. And that's just, it holds me back from liking it a little bit, because of something like Grand Budapest Hotel or Fantastic Mr. Fox, there's like a good 10 characters I could bring up. In this one, I feel like there's only 2 that really stood out to me. And that is where...
What about Chief's bitch?
Chief's bitch? I mentioned Nutmeg.
Who
they actually referred to as a bitch, and that made me laugh, but...
That's because, like...
context, you know?
Yeah. It's not a swear word if it's in homonyms.
But yeah, like, and that's where my problems end. I just think it's a big one, you know? Like, there were parts of the movie where, I don't know, like, I wasn't really bored at any part, but there was parts where I was feeling like I could be laughing more, because I think this making distinct characters, you know, interesting characters, that's when you can give them more material to work with their lines, because their lines are become more relevant to them, and you kind of already have these connections to these characters, so what they're saying has a higher chance of making you laugh, because it's like, yeah, that character would say that. Like, yeah, and Chief and the kid, though, are great two main characters. You don't understand what the kid's saying throughout the entire film.
Unless you're Japanese.
Yeah, unless you're Japanese, and I'm hoping there'll be some form of subtitle version of it eventually where I can actually understand what they're saying. I mean, granted, a lot of it's translated by translators, but that's only when it's on television.
And usually written dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Where was I going with that?
I wonder if it'll still be in Japanese in the movie theaters in Japan, because you know, like the movie Mad Max Fury Road.
And that movie, I haven't seen it, but I know it.
There was a short line by a faction called the Buzzards.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people who drove the rusty, spiky cars in the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You see 2 of them together, 2 separate cars, and it's like, we have intruders, unwelcomed, or not welcomed, but not unwanted. They spoke that in Russian. Every translation of that movie was Russian, except in Russia, where it was actually spoken in German.
Mm-hmm.
So, I kind of wonder if, like, movies where sometimes the dialogue or the language is different, will that continue in movies where it's in that native, that language is the native? I've
had that thought too before. I don't know what they would do. I feel like they don't have to, because I feel like if I was watching a foreign movie where they did that with an like English speaking character, I would get it because it's a foreign film and I know I'm watching a foreign film. Mm-hmm. So I think that I would be able to follow that. I don't think really changing up would be necessary. I think with like the Isle of Dogs, though, like really it's just a matter of like, it's just like, you know, the context of who's watching it. It can be watched. Like if you speak Japanese, then great, you'll understand what the human characters are saying. And we have rendered the dogs to speak your language, so the dogs will also speak in Japanese. I think if you're Japanese, you just get to understand what every single character's saying. And if you're not Japanese, you're not supposed to. And I hope eventually, I can kind of respect the decision to not give subtitles to the character speaking. And I think it kind of, like, for a first viewing, I kind of liked it, because you're kind of going from the perspective of the dogs, where you're not quite sure what the people are saying.
One thing I'm kind of curious is, can the boy understand the dogs?
No, I don't think so. I think that he was able to pick up on a lot of the things they were doing. The only part in the movie where that bothered me, I think the cues, I don't think he can understand them. The only scene where I felt like it was kind of taking a stretch with that, though, is when Spots was making Chief his new bodyguard, his new protector. Because, like, how would those 3 communicate that? Like, even the boats, I could kind of understand, because they're showing images, they're showing, like, blueprints, they're showing stuff. The dogs are acting, and the kid's able to pick up on what they're doing. I don't think the kid can understand what they're saying. The movie even opens saying, I think it's like the dog barks are rendered into English, which was a good opening joke. I liked that.
I think it even said, even the dogs don't understand the kid, really.
They don't.
Because I think
well, they acknowledge it several times.
Like, at one point, it was like, man, I wish someone spoke his language.
Yeah.
Would Oracle speak his language? That little pug? Because she watches TV. Oracle's visions.
That's a good point. Maybe maybe there's just, again, like, cues that help her understand what's going on, but that is a good point. Yeah, I don't know. Then, like... Yeah, you stumped me there. Okay, honest to God, I'm thinking about that now. I'm wondering how exactly she knew everything. I think maybe just context clues can help. I do not think the dogs could understand the humans at all, except for, like, little things like fetch and, sit down.
They seem to understand English.
Yeah, well, kind of. I think that, like...
Fetch, sit.
Yeah, but most of those dogs were from... They
were in Japan.
Yeah.
All of them.
I know.
So all of them lived in Japanese households.
I was saying most of them, but yeah, it is all of them. So I don't think they would understand English. I think they just spoke English in the movie for us to understand, us, the audience, to understand.
Well, they only understood the English commands, though. Fetch it, sit.
Yeah, but I mean, still, it's because it's being translated into English, The dogs, like, even when a dog understands a word in Japanese, it's still being translated to English to us because the dogs are speaking English in the movie. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, like, again, I loved everything else about it. I think it's just, like, I was going into this with expectations for it to be the best Wes Anderson movie from what I heard about it. And it's not. I don't think it is at all. I think that Grand Budapest Hotel and Fantastic Mr. Fox are, like, quite a good bit ahead of it. Mm-hmm. Just because its characters were so great. And the comedy was a lot better. I think the comedy in this movie was really good sometimes, but I think because a lot of these lines were coming from characters that felt identical, I wasn't really laughing as much as I wanted to be. The visual jokes were almost like the best part of the movie.
I forget, what was the rating of that movie? PG-13?
It probably was PG-13 because it definitely wasn't R or anything. But my guess would be PG-13 because of stuff like they said bitch. Bryan Cranston's dog Chief said, like, you guys, like, mentioned, like, you guys have no balls, and he they rip a dog's ear off, like, there's violence.
And they're drinking, like, turpentine.
Yeah, so, I mean, alcohol. Yeah, so, like, maybe I could get it a PG rating still. My guess is PG-13. I really strongly believe that. I don't think kids would like this movie that much. I think there is too many scenes of news broadcasts being translated, too many scenes of, like, political just talk, too many scenes that don't focus on the dogs. And I think as a result, a kid could enjoy a movie like this, but many of them probably won't. Many of them will probably find parts of it boring, because I think a lot of kids can't even really appreciate great animation when they're young. I know that because I was a kid and I would look at one animated film and not see a difference.
PG-13.
It's PG, yeah, I figured. I mean, like, PG films can get away with cursing, but I don't think they can get away with saying bitch. I think, like, the most they can do is, like,
damn it, maybe.
Damn it, hell, maybe an ass. Maybe an ass are there. But probably not bitch, shit, or fuck.
A PG-13 can get away with, like, what, one fuck?
I think PG-13 can get away with one fuck. And then, like...
R can get away with 99.
Rated R can get away with 99. And I don't know if that's still the way it is. But that's what South Park, apparently, like, supposedly did, like, with their movie. I'm sure that's what you're referring to.
They just kept it under 100.
They kept it one fuck under 100, so they could be rated R still, not NC-17. Mm-hmm. Which makes me feel like they added extra fucks in there. Like, they probably, like, they just wanted to add that, like, little detail of a joke in there. They didn't need to say fuck that many times.
Kind of like when that guy, he was on the building, and then that guy showed up. He's like, "Hey, what the fuck you doing? I'm climbing your tower, fucking suction cups. What does it look like I'm doing?"
That was a very random reference right there. It's a good video, but
part of the movie, right?
Oh yeah, that was in this movie. I Love Dogs. Check out. Oh wait, you're talking about like South Park style animation. I wasn't okay. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, did you watch the newest animation by Pymation?
Nope.
It was alright.
I like Pymation's okay. I think I was more into him when he first started. And I don't think that's because he's gone downhill or anything. He's probably gotten better. I think it's more just of age. Mm-hmm. The last video he made that I remember loving was Suction Cup Man, and not even Suction Cup Man 2. That one's just okay. Suction Cup Man made me laugh a lot. And then I think he's like kind of more focused on original stuff than parody now, and that's kind of cool. But but then he started like releasing stuff like, I don't know, like the Zootopia parody and like a fucking Sonic parody. And it was just like anything that's popular gets a Pymation's animation, and then he did like those awful Overwatch videos. But he seems like he's
I think
like
though that was
focused
kind of
on
more based on his Team Fortress videos.
Yeah, I think he was. I think
Overwatch and Team Fortress are the same game.
I think with shows like Elements of Cringe and the Overwatch videos, like I think he became self-aware later on that they weren't that great. And
Overwatch
I think that
is cringe though.
Yeah, Overwatch is Elements of Cringe was a My Little Pony series he was doing, which I watched despite I've seen one episode of that show years ago, and I was just trying to process why people were enjoying it. And
at your age and older,
I was like I think beginning high school when the whole brony thing started, and I checked
what
it.
What the fuck is this? Why is this popular?
It took like friends of mine who are bronies like a year to convince me to watch an episode, and then I did, and I was like, no. This looks like if you like it, it's okay. Like, let me get that straight. I will not judge you for liking something.
I like Pestilence Pony and War Pony and Famine Pony, but my favorite is Death Pony.
My favorite's Ponyta, who is a ridiculous pony. That's President Taft. So we're talking like about internet cartoons now. We got DeRailed. Hasn't happened in a while.
I was talking about the Adult Swim episode with the Apocalypse Pony.
I don't know. Adult Swim episode. What show?
Robot Chicken.
Robot Chicken. Okay, why didn't you say Robot Chicken episode?
I get confused on the things.
Yeah.
It's Robot Chicken on Adult Swim. Adult Swim's on Cartoon Network at I think it's 8 now.
What else did I have? I had like other things I wanted to say about this movie. I don't want to come off as like I dislike this movie, because I really don't. I think I was expecting more. Moonrise Kingdom is probably, I don't know if I ever finished that. It's probably my 4th favorite, because those are the 4 movies I watched. I actually watched Moonrise Kingdom with Gage too. And
it seems like a lot of his stick is visual humor.
Oh, absolutely. And Moonrise Kingdom was a good movie. I think that it's just kind of a charming little fun movie to watch, and there's not anything like super special about it. It's just kind of a fun hour and a half.
An easygoing movie.
Yeah, very easygoing. Not a lot of risks taken, but not a lot of risks needed to be taken with it. And then with stuff like Fantastic Mr. Fox and Grand Budapest Hotel, it feels like they're doing some real groundbreaking stuff with those, both story-wise and production-wise. And then Isle of Dogs, really just the presentation is the only thing that I think they just completely nailed, like knocked right out of the park. But when it comes to some of the, again, just characters, writing, and presentation of the story, there's just little things with the story, and then like big things with the characters that hold it back from being like a great movie. I mean, I'd still call it a great movie. It's like an 8 out of 10 for me. It could have easily been like a 9 or 10, but it's just the characters, they need to be more distinct for me. I don't know. I don't feel like I got enough out of them. I don't feel like I feel like when you have a movie with this many characters in it, you need to have more than 2 memorable characters. And to me, like the third most interesting character is that really freaky looking guy who works for the mayor. Just off the design and way he speaks alone, how fucking disgusting he looked. He looks like that fucking guy from the Pink Floyd Another Brick in the Wall movie, where they had like the animated segment for the trial. It looks like the teacher in that. It looks like kind of looks like the fucking critic from Ratatouille, but like just grayer and more hideous
and more Asian.
Honest to God, he looks like a lot of animated music video characters I've seen before. People like to I've seen like that kind of depiction before, and I love it every single time. It's a great design.
I love how he's like 8 feet tall.
Yeah, he's so much taller than any other fucking character in the movie.
Like, I would say every other character is like what, 5'10", 5'9".
Yeah,
and he's like fucking skeleton at fucking 8 foot.
Let's talk about some. I've been like kind of repeating myself, criticizing it. I apologize for repeating myself. Let's talk more about like just positives right now, because there is a lot of stuff to love. I think one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie is just like him playing like just like the scene where Chief finally starts to like him, which would often in movies kind of be like a really generic scene, like the I don't like you. Then they kind of get to know each other, and like relationship forms and a bond is created. That happens in so many movies of characters, but just the way they do it in this movie is so likable, because it's such a sudden change. The very second he starts petting Chief and just gives him the bath, that's like it. Chief just loves him now, because that's what they're going with, like with humans, like how quickly a dog and a human are able to grow like this femship, how they're able to grow this camaraderie. together. I can't fucking talk.
Camaraderie.
Yeah, goddamn. And I just thought that was a really beautiful scene. I love that. Like, I really love how they pulled that off. I really love that. It's just very heartwarming, very great. We just got a new puppy, and it just felt very real. That scene felt very accurate to me of how quickly, like, just the bond between a person and their dog grows. I loved it. I think the funniest joke in the movie is kind of told within the first 10 minutes of it, but like there's still other funny part. Like comedy wise, I think it peaks at the very beginning, because my favorite joke in the movie is like them reading, like trying to determine whether the food that's like in that garbage bag is really worth it or not. And then they rip it open, and he starts reading off everything in there, and he says, and then Chief is like, okay, it's worth it. Then just immediately jump cuts to them beating the shit out of each other. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that was great.
I like how they sent the cats to prison with the people. Yeah,
that was a dick move. What did the cats do other than exist?
Guilty by association.
Guilty by association. All cats must go to prison. They create an island for the cats.
I just remembered
It's like the Rick and Morty episode with the Purge. At the end, no one learns anything, and immediately the same mistakes are made.
I remember the guilty by association thing that from 3 Billboards.
Oh yeah, when did that come up?
When she was talking about how if a gang member,
oh yeah,
and then it transitions to boy fucking priests.
I guess there's a few examples of guilty by association in that movie. Just like Chief Willoughby. Actually, I won't say that because that's a huge spoiler. Just Chief Willoughby and events that take place in the movie and how they're blamed on someone who isn't actually responsible for it, but is guilty by association. That might be more labeled as a misunderstanding, though, or I don't know. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. We almost had a whole episode on that. Just gone. Yep. That is still my favorite movie I watched. That's a 2017 movie. So far, Isle of Dogs is my favorite movie that I've seen in 2018, because I only have one other to fucking compare it to, because every other movie I've gone to theaters to see this year is stuff that was actually released in 2017, and I'm like catching up. I saw A Quiet Place, and A Quiet Place is okay. Maybe you would love it, but I have like some serious problems with it. I don't know, it might be like a 5 out of 10 for me. I've kind of been back and forth between like a 5 or a 6.
I still want you to watch The Conjuring.
I can watch The Conjuring. But Isle of Dogs, I'd give it like an 8. What would you rate it on a scale to 1 to 10?
Maybe a 7.
Maybe a 7. Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, I think 7's fair.
I think that it sounded like you liked it more than me.
Oh.
Okay. Gage gives it a 7.
Not my favorite genre movie.
I guess not. Not a big fan of stop motion.
I'm okay with it usually.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did kind of like Wallace and Gromit. Now it's like is that stop motion or claymation?
Stop motion and claymation I would consider the same thing.
They're basically the same, yeah.
Yeah, like
just one you clay, but
I guess it's
clay.
Yeah, I mean like because obviously Isle of Dogs wasn't clay, but
some of the characters look like they were made like almost out like sheared rugs or something.
Yeah,
in some sorts of fabric.
Very impressive.
Yeah,
honestly. I was never really into any of what's
how big the models were. They're probably this big?
Probably. I actually don't know. Definitely need to be big enough for them to like get all the
fucking
fucking details
all,
of the fur movement.
It'd be funny if they're all like life size. So it's like someone has to come out and be like, just like actually have to put effort to move them that 1 inch.
Yeah. No, it was a fucking insane amount of effort, just like fucking fur moving. With every single frame.
Mm-hmm.
There was never a break with any of that animation. There is always something on the screen moving. Like any good animated movie should be, I mean. But like, stop motion, some people can almost get away with a little bit of laziness here and there with that because of the genre. And it can
be forgiven because of how much work it is.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's fucking insane. Like, it definitely looked better. And Fantastic Mr. Fox is a great movie that still holds up. But, I mean, the animation was so much better in this one. Like, they really stepped it up.
What if they made, like, Fantastic Mr. Fox with the improved animation? Like, say if that was, like, the first.
I don't think there would be a significant enough difference to where it would be worth the time. I think instead they should make a new stop motion movie.
I was thinking maybe like if Fantastic Mr. Fox was released back then, you went to see it, but it had Isle of Dogs animation. Like, that animation would have been a lot better. Yeah,
for sure. They improved. Like, they improved a lot. And again, Fantastic Mr. Fox, great animated movie. Though there are some scenes where the movement of the characters is like especially corny and awkward, but like they kind of do it intentionally. But you also get the idea of like, if they tried to make it look less corny, it wouldn't have worked as well. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of times where it's just the characters like fucking dancing and it looks really jumpy and all over the place, but like clearly they're doing it on purpose. So, but I'm wondering if like them doing it on purpose is kind of like an scapegoat, basically, to avoid something that they can't make look good.
Scapegoat, not a scapegoat.
I know.
Scapegoat is something you blame too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you gotta push someone aside and blame them.
I know. That's what I was saying.
And then
it works there.
Give them a bunch of pills that make it so they can't really function anymore. To take the rap for a senator's son or something. So people wouldn't notice his crimes.
We're talking about Spawn right now.
Yes.
me and Gage have been watching Spawn. Gage has been showing it to me. And I'm 3 episodes in so far. And it's interesting. I'll say that. The animated one, but I think that's the only show that Spawn ever had.
Yeah, there was the show and the movie was terrible.
Yeah, I know there's like a nostalgia critic on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nostalgia critic. What's he been up to lately?
Mm-hmm.
Anything significant? I don't know. I haven't really looked into that for a while. What's good old Doug Walker doing these days? What adventures has he been going through? I'm sure, like him and are they ever going to do another crossover movie where they get all of the critics on the website together to do a video together again? I think that'd be a fun thing.
Maybe Nostalgia Critic can do a review with that good old John Jafari.
Good old John Jafari. Hey, at least John apologized. Hey, at least Logan Paul apologized.
That Logan Paul is such a stand-up guy.
Logan Paul, man, he apologized immediately. You can give him that.
But still, the fact that he did it in the first place is fucked.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not... fuck Logan Paul. I'm not, like, saying... I'm just saying, like, it's amazing that, like... I'm definitely going to wait to hear Doug Walker out with whatever he says. And it does sound like this whole thing, a lot of it's more based around...
It's more like the people around him.
One, he doesn't sound like the guiltiest player involved in this, but he also seems like... it also seems like a lot of it's like incompetence. Like no one was trying to be a scumbag. No one was trying to do something shitty. It's just they aren't good at what they're doing. They had no idea what they were doing, and they never learned from the past 10 years of doing it. But what I was going to say is if they never do apologize, we are looking at Doug Walker potentially being a bigger douchebag than Logan Paul for 2018. And I'll say this, like, I'm not a big fan of Nostalgia Critic per se, because I don't like the sketches he does, but I do enjoy his editorials. I do enjoy the top 11s. I do enjoy the reviews that he does. I was a fan of Doug Walker, like, days before the whole scandal started, and now I'm just like, I hope you say something, buddy, because I want to like you, but, it's bad. It's not a good thing, and it got progressively worse as time went by.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't even know if you know about the whole update in that. I won't talk about that because that's way too fucking sad to talk about. I don't want to talk about that in a joking tone.
As you know, I can.
Yeah, I know Gage can. But it's a shitty situation. I don't know why I felt the need to bring it up, but here we go. Got probably 5 minutes dedicated to the whole channel awesome debacle. Any final words?
What?
Any final words, Gage?
On what?
On this podcast.
This is a podcast? I thought this was a video. There's no difference.
Okay.
Everything is pain.
Oh, wow. He actually hit his head against the wall.
It's hollow. It didn't hurt.
Okay.
Or I just don't feel the pain yet. It's there.